So the questions we're highlighting this week are, why did we wait so long to breed ladybug?
Normally I just start with just a question.
Okay.
Why did we wait so long to breed ladybug?
What you need, bud?
Just like that.
Okay. Why did we wait so long to breed back ladybug?
How do you make yourself the boss cow of your herd?
And what are some tips for making moving with kids, toddlers, babies easier?
This is Ask the Cowgirl. We're going to answer your questions that you've left here on our channel in today's episode. You don't like the title Ask the Cowgirl? Why don't you like Ask the Cowgirl?
I don't know.
Come on, cowgirls are in. You're in the center. I'm like way to the side.
Yeah, you
now.
are.
Let's slide you over here. This is Ask the Cowgirl, our like once a month version of Ask Homesteady, where I save all the questions relating to cows, milking,
Yeah,
women.
This is the one Austin ropes me into.
And I save them all in a little folder. Any question that I don't want to answer with, okay? And about once a month we cover Ask the Cowgirl.
I
So-
don't do the Q&A every week because they are kind of long. So it's hard for me to get away from everything for like 2 or 3 hours every week.
Yeah, everyone knows I can talk more than you. So let's dive into our questions. If you want to get a question answered on Ask the Cowgirl specifically, put hashtag Ask the Cowgirl. And if you want to just have a question answered and let me figure out whether or not to bring Kay in for it, hashtag Ask Homesteady. Make sure your hashtag is all one word. That way I can find it when we sit down to do the asking segment.
Yeah, it just makes everything easier to find. That's why we hashtag them.
Remember, when we do Ask the Cowgirl, these questions have been saved for the last month or so. So a lot of these questions come from videos we made almost a month ago, like this one, when we showed you putting a magnet into Luna, our calf. The magnet we shot down her throat into the belly so that it would absorb any hardware that cow might pick up while eating. Whiskey Bent Farms asks, how many times do you have to put a magnet into a cow, and will the magnet pass on its own?
The magnet should stay in the cow forever, so you should just have to do one. Now, when somebody asks a question in the comments, a lot of times some very experienced cow people will answer back, and Fiona's one of those ones who's an experienced cow person who answered back to that, and that was really nice. Some of the other tips she gave is just if they're being fed a lot of grain, sometimes that'll cause the magnet to pass through, so look for that. Yeah, and one way to check to see if the magnet's still in your cow is to use a compass.
Whoa, super cool. Okay, the next question, Courtney, who asks frequently on our Ask Homesteady, she says, holy cow, pun intended, this is something I never would have known to even look up. Talking again about the magnet that we put into our calf Luna. She says, I'm going to do my own research, but is this something to do maybe with goats? I know they have differences in digestion, but would this help? So do you ever put a magnet in goats?
First of all, Courtney, the more you learn about cows, the more you realize, like, wow, there is so much more I need to know. They seem so just
Put them out in the field.
easy, right? But it's kind of that way with any livestock you get involved with. You're like, wow, I never knew that about that. So that's why we always suggest kind of going slowly at first. We made the mistake of doing a lot all at once, and we did lose livestock. So just a side point. As far as a goat getting a magnet, goats eat a little differently than cows. Cows are on the ground grazing. Goats they like to be up higher. So can they get hardware and stuff in them? I have never heard of a goat dying of hardware disease. I've never had a goat vet recommend that we put a magnet in a goat. So I don't think it's a necessary thing to do for a goat. Goats, you do have to watch for more things like twine, or, you know, goats love to, like, we had a goat who like ate my lab sheet. It just flew out of the van and she grabbed it and she ate it. So stuff like that you kind of have to be wary with goats, but not necessarily the metal fragments that they're picking up off the ground.
Yeah, they won't eat hardware, they'll just eat everything else. Aaron wants to know if cows can provide milk if they aren't bred.
A cow has to be bred one time to produce milk, like a person. Once you have a baby, then you'll start producing milk. Now, there are those rare instances where a cow can start milking, but it's super rare and generally it doesn't happen. So
we just heard our kids playing made a funny noise. I don't edit this, so if you heard that funny noise,
yeah, that's what we were listening for. See if anyone was crying after it. So you breed your cow the first time, and she'll start producing milk after she has that calf. Now, she can produce milk. Some breeds of cows will produce milk for years after they have a calf without being rebred, which is kind of a nice thing to do if you don't want to have to keep worrying about breeding or calving. So if you have a cow, she's been bred once, she's giving milk, and you don't feel like breeding, keep milking her. She may just keep producing milk for a long time, a couple of years, sometimes even.
Only downside to that is you never get a break, so you better be really into it.
Yeah.
Which I think if you're really into it, you probably like breeding, but I guess technically,
So yes, they do have to be bred initially to produce milk, but after that, you can extend the breeding for a few years sometimes, and she will keep producing milk.
Not all of our Ask the Cowgirl questions are specifically about cows. Sometimes people want to know what it's like being the homestead wife and mother. And this question that we have, so this is why we very rarely do Ask Homesteady with Kay, because even though we're at grandma's, we still need to, kids. Anyways, I'm going to leave you with this question, and I'm going to go kill some bugs, because that's what Dad does. He kills bugs. KKG wants to know, what do you cook from day to day? And are our kids picky? Are you picky?
Is he going to help me answer this?
Are you picky?
Not
Yes.
usually.
Where's these
Not
bugs that I have to go swat?
Okay,
Bro, you
show
said
Daddy.
You stay with Mama. You get a co-host.
So how do you feel about being picky? Are you picky?
Not most of the time.
Not most of the time. This one, he's 8. And he'll try, if I say, here, try this, he'll try pretty much anything I ask him to try. And he's really developed a taste for some different things. The younger ones are still in that picky stage. So the 2-year-old just entered it, my 4-year-old, my 6-year-old. They still kind of stick to some basic. So I keep things simple for during the week for my sake. I'll pick a protein to make, so we'll have pork, chicken, beef, venison. I'll do it simply. So pick a protein, pick a veggie on the side. Everybody likes some veggie, thankfully. My one daughter likes tomatoes. You like carrots. You like cucumbers. There's more bug killing going on. And then a grain, so quinoa or a starch like a rice.
What about amaranth?
Amaranth.
Animal meat.
Animal meat. That's what I do for food. And as far as the pickiness in the kids, we were just talking to somebody and they were saying kids have very strong tasting taste buds. So their taste buds can taste a lot stronger things. Honey, Daddy's over there.
Daddy's gonna kill some bugs.
So, whereas if I sprinkle a little pepper on something, I'm like, oh, that's a nice seasoning. Some of them will taste it and say, oh, it's too spicy, I can't eat that. So I try to be understanding, and if they're getting some veggie, they all like fruit, which is nice. Some veggie, some meat.
I like tomatoes and cucumbers.
Tomatoes and cucumbers, yeah. They'll all eat something.
Stop.
Good.
So we've got a wasp situation in the other room, some sort of nest. Austin's got to go play exterminator for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not going near that nest. I'm just going to relocate the playroom. But I'll leave you with a question.
Okay.
I don't do bees. People know I don't do bees. I definitely don't do wasps. At least bees give honey. Wasps just give pain and fear. The next question I will leave you with is Danielle. She says, your babies are so precious.
Thank you.
Not exactly farm related, but this one is for Kay. How do you do your hair? My daughter has Shirley Temple curls and they're impossible to maintain. I have slightly wavy hair, so I have absolutely no clue how to deal with those constant tangles of the curly hair. Any clues would be really helpful. So, P.S. she turned 4 earlier this month.
Okay. Okay.
How do you deal with them beautiful curls?
Well, that's how old my...
I'll leave you with that.
Yes, that's how old my third oldest is, and she actually has naturally curly hair too. So it's super cute when they're little babies. They got the little ringlets, but the older they get, the longer it gets, and then you're dealing with the rat's nests, especially in the car seat when their head rubs up against it. Lots of conditioner, and don't brush. You know, if you want them to be curly, don't brush. I will put a little conditioner in her hair when she takes a bath, rinse it out, and then after, some leave-in conditioner. Just run it through with my fingers. So I hardly ever brush or comb her hair, and then just kind of finger scrunch it up. Now, after a couple days, you start to see the curls are kind of going, which happens to mine too. And if you want them to stay curly, give it a little mist of some leave-in, scrunch it again. Hopefully that helps with the rat's nest. Another thing that helps is frequent trims, because my hair gets really knotted. Once it gets longer and the ends start to split, I know it's time to cut my hair when it gets really knotted. So if maybe she hasn't had her hair cut in a little bit, try doing a little haircut. A little shorter. I just got my daughter like a little shorter in the back, longer in the front. So she still has that length, but the curls stay nice because they're not too long. So that's my advice for curly hair. Lots of conditioner.
I'm not a big wuss. I think it's a wasp nest in like the chimney because they're all crawling through.
It's getting cold.
The little chimney like door to the flue, and there's like 3 crawling through, and I picture like I'm gonna open that up to swat them, and then the whole wasp horde is gonna just like land on my face and kill me. So let's go to the next question. Almost Homestead wants to know, sorry Ladybug is not pregnant, she has a question.
Okay.
She has a Jersey cow.
They. Do we know it's a she?
Oh, I'm assuming. I'm sorry.
This person.
I have a Jersey cow. We just got her in February and she calved 2 weeks ago. We were told when we got our cow that we needed to breed her in 2 months after she calved. And the research I have done, I'm new to cows, says if you don't breed within a couple of months or so of calving, you increase the risk of a cow never breeding successfully again. You guys have waited almost a year and I was wondering why. Is this what you were told to do? I talked to one person who had a Jersey that would not breed and they determined it was due to waiting too long. I'm not crazy about breeding so soon, but also don't want to risk never breeding again. Trying to get as much information on the subject as she can. What's the deal, yo? Why'd you wait?
I think a couple people asked this question this week, right? Why did we wait? It just came down to the timing. She calved in November. She came back into an obvious heat, I think, at the end of December. I didn't have semen. I didn't have an AI tech or anything. So by January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, my goal was to get her rebred to calve in the spring. So I was kind of putting off breeding in December, January, February, March, because that would put us more in late fall, early winter.
And we didn't want to have a calf in the winter because that's a scary time to have a little baby outside.
Yeah, and just not ideal for us. Now, we moved, so the whole breeding for spring kind of got all topsy-turvy. This is not, I would not ideally have waited a year. Now, she's coming into a regular heat, so I'm not worried about her being able to be rebred successfully. I'm not really worried about it. The thing is, and it's hard with the family cow because it's such a different situation than you'll find in a conventional dairy, and we say this a lot, there's a lot less research done on family cows. So are we talking about a conventional dairy where, they to make the most from their cows, they're rebreeding within 2 months. So they're timing it, syncing it, AI, to make sure she's rebred because that's how they're going to make the most money from their cows. Anatomically, physiologically, for a small Jersey cow that's providing milk for us, I don't know. And it's hard to find out any real scientific data on this. I'm not too worried about her breeding back, but like we always say, this is our first time with a cow. So kind of everything we do this year, last year, is kind of we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens.
Something you were explaining to me this morning that might have something to do with this. I'm wondering, I'm going to ask you here without warning you. That's always
good.
fun. You talked about how generally Luna in a commercial dairy would have been weaned, well, right away.
Yeah.
You
maybe
talked
within a
about
month or
how
two.
once a cow has its calf weaned, then it's quicker going to put fat on and be harder to breed.
Once, if you stop milking and your cow isn't bred, your cow will put on weight, internal weight around the organs, which is going to make it harder for her to breed back.
So that possibly could be something to do with that?
Well, they wouldn't be drying off their cows as soon as the calf is weaned in the dairy.
So
It's just such a different thing, a commercial dairy operation, than a family milk cow. It's so different.
and even the cows themselves, again, we have selected from a line of family cows. They don't come from commercial cows. So the way they have been managed is different.
Yeah, you'll see just their conformation is different. What they're producing is so different.
One good example of this, when we bought Ladybug, they told us that unlike a commercial cow that has been from a long line of commercial cows, they see this line of cow milking at age 14, which is something you just don't see in a commercial line of cows.
Yeah, not usually.
Not usually.
Now, this is one of those things where it's good to find, I always recommend the Family Cow Forum, because there are long-time family cow owners, specifically family cow owners, who have waited to rebreed. You could ask what their experience has been, who have waited years to rebreed. And those would be the people that ask, like, how have you seen your cow? Did she rebreed easily?
We talk a lot about how we like to go with as much scientific data as we can and make decisions based off that. But there are times that you'll find just a lack of data.
Yeah, it's just not there.
That really applies to your situation. And at that point, the next best thing is that anecdotal. If someone has tried it and it's worked for them, well, that's better than no data. So,
and we'll tell you in about 6 months.
we'll have some scientific data.
Yeah, well, anecdotal at best.
Next question. Speaking of differences, genetically speaking, from cow lines, this next question has to do with genetic traits that are milk specific. Avalon Acres knew that we selected Ladybug because she had A2A2 genetics. And then they asked, was that your only milk production genetic requirement? I've been looking at bulls that are not only A2A2, but also BB kappa casein for more cheese proteins. So they want to know, did we look at anything else? Gene-wise, just like the Ladybug.
And they also say...
milk specific.
My mom is super lactose intolerant, but she has zero issues with our raw milk. Even though you don't know if your cows are A2A2 yet. Some people just do better with the raw milk. Some people find a noticeable difference when they go to the A2A2 raw milk. So once again, that's one thing the science is still kind of up in the air about, if it's really a thing, this A2A2. But for us, we always say for a small time milk producer, it's kind of good to find yourself a niche. So if you're the person who does A2A2 milk in the area, you'll be able to sell your raw milk.
Or A2A2 calves.
Right.
Because it's just another notch or another merit badge on your cow's sash.
As far as the other genetic components, I didn't do much research or shopping for them. For me, we were looking at a disease-free herd, a small cow, A2A2 milk. You know, at some point you have to say, okay, what am I ready to give up on? And for the cheese making and that sort of thing, I wasn't looking for that. Maybe in the future, if we get more into cheese making, you sound like you actually do cheese making, so that would be a good thing to look for. Different breeds of cows are better for making cheeses. Jersey cows aren't known to be a good cow for making cheese. Other cows can be better, like a milking shorthorn, or what else do they do? A brown Swiss, something like that. So if you are getting into a cow saying, I want to make cheese, that's what I want to do, that would be something that you would want to look for, a breed specifically that is going to be good for making cheese.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was thinking about this one, and this person asking the question, I'm not necessarily talking to you, I'm more talking to the general people watching this and thinking about making cheese. And I like to just throw out the reminder that owning a family cow, milking a family cow, and cheese making are two different things. And if you're more interested in cheese making, you probably should start just making cheese.
Like buying some raw milk from a local farm and
Yeah.
working on the cheese making.
Because it's so much, and we knew this going in, this is why we didn't care about the BB Kappa casein. We had enough experience homesteading to know that everything is its own thing. Owning a cow is its own big thing to learn. And then milking that cow and processing your raw milk, handling your raw milk, I should say, is its own thing. So we knew we weren't going to be making cheese because that's not why we got started for it.
I tried.
At a hobby level, but we weren't going to like suddenly open up our own little
cheese
cheesery.
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 Austin's Cheesery.
Yes, that's another name for my
Videos.
Austin's Cheesery. So we weren't worried about that. And then the other thing I was thinking when you said this is with all animals, there's no super cow out there. There's no super goat. There's only super dogs, Labradors. So there's not going to be the perfect all things you want.
No.
So you have to, like Kay said, pick what you want. And for us,
that's-
cheese making wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, that's even realizing like shopping for a bull to breed the girls to. Like, you want A2A2,
Right.
you want small size, disease free. Do you want some color on your calves? Do you want them to be polled? And which of those things is most important?
Yeah, you got to put it in order of importance and choose
Yeah.
that way. Evie wants to know, how many more calves do you hope to get from Ladybug before you stop breeding her? And will we be doing AI with the goats? So first, Ladybug, how many calves?
There are people who have breeding their family cows till 12, 14 years old. So she's 4 now. For years, hopefully. As long as she's still healthy enough. So when I say healthy enough, I mean like keeping her weight on. And after calving, if she's producing well for the calf, if it's not bringing her down too much, if it's not too much for her to handle. So if she gets to be 10 years old and it's just too much for her to have another calf, then we'll stop breeding her. But that's something we'll decide when the time comes to see how she's handling it.
That's an interesting question because I think there's a lifespan. Well, I could be totally wrong in saying this, but the way we talk about this from time to time, having a homestead and especially the dairy element really works well with our current lifestyle. Having lots of little babies and children and not being world travelers or neither of us leaving the homestead very much throughout the day. But I don't know that our forever, I don't know that we'll be 60 years old milking a cow.
No.
Well, I certainly won't be. I don't milk a cow right now. So it's interesting to think, will we like run Ladybug's life course to the end of calving? Will that be the actual lifetime of us having dairy cows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, who
It's just a
on earth
cool
even
thought,
knows?
like to think ahead, like maybe we'll run Ladybug, but maybe not Luna. Maybe Luna will be sold and give someone else calves and we'll be done. Who knows? It's a long time.
Just to
from
put
now.
that out there, I guess.
No, it's just a cool thought. That's farming and homesteading. It's a long game. I always say that. You're looking into the future. Also, Evie wanted to know, would we be AIing the goats or breed them to Kay's aunt's goats? Now, we already talked about this in our recent video, our plans for breeding the goats. We are not planning on AIing goats. It is... Well, why didn't we plan on AIing goats? Just because...
We have the buck.
Yeah, we have good genetics, a good
Yeah.
buck here. And now we're going to be... We haven't updated them on that yet.
Nope, not
Stay
yet.
tuned. Stay tuned. Some new change. We talked about in a video this week, there's some changes coming.
That's one of them.
And the buck situation is a change. But we'll do that in a video. Next week you'll see that. The next question that we have, Jocelyn asked, and a lot of people jumped on a recent Q&A. I think it was the last Cowgirl.
one.
Well, the last one you were here for. We briefly talked about a freemartin, and you just briefly said, oh, a freemartin is essentially what you just briefly said was, do you remember what you
I don't
briefly
remember
said?
what I briefly said.
You just said like, oh, a freemartin is
A heifer
who
calf,
can't be
that's
bred.
okay, who can't be bred, right.
And people like
So
jumped
that was
on
a very
that.
general, answer.
We weren't actually answering a question about what a freemartin was. We were just talking about, oh, a freemartin, by the way, that's a heifer that can't be bred.
Yeah,
and
so
tons
maybe
of
just
people,
confirm that your calf isn't a freemartin. Right?
yeah,
Something like that.
And tons of people jumped on that and said, whoa, that's not what a freemartin is. A freemartin is blah, 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 blah. And so Jocelyn asked us to clarify. She said she heard some technicalities over how a freemartin comes to be and about how they were carried in the womb. So I just wanted to say, like, sometimes we mention something quickly in passing. We weren't giving the definition of what a freemartin was in that video. She was just saying, oh yeah, a freemartin is a cow, a female cow who can't be bred. Not all female cows that can't be bred are freemartins.
No.
And that's not what she was saying.
No.
We were just mentioning that quickly and moving on. But now we're not going to move on. We're actually going to explain.
In depth.
Because we do know what a freemartin actually is. And she knew then.
Yeah, and Jocelyn mentioned it too. She's talking about goats. It goes like this. Mama goat is pregnant with a male and a female kid. Their hormones while in utero mess with each other and can cause the female goat to be sterile. Is that even kind of true?
It pretty much nails it.
Totally true. So there's a male and a female calf in the cow. They share that placenta. So their hormones, their cells are crossing in and out of each other. For the male calf, that will reduce fertility slightly.
He's a girly man, essentially.
But he can still reproduce. The female calf gets the bad end of this deal. Because she, in most cases, they say it's like 90% of female calves with a twin bull will become sterile. She'll even sometimes develop like male reproductive organs. Either way, there's a good chance if your female calf, if your heifer calf had a twin bull calf, she will be unable to have a baby. She'll be unable to breed.
And so that's actually the definition of what the freemartin is. In that video, we were just mentioning, oh yeah, freemartin is a female cow that can't be bred.
Now, there are even some cases where, say you just have one heifer calf, there was no twin. Sometimes the bull twin has been reabsorbed by the mother.
Ooh, yummy.
But the twin heifer calf still has had that exchange with those male sex cells. Those cells being exchanged, she may be. So if you're having an issue breeding your heifer cow, maybe it's because she's a freemartin and you never knew. There are ways that vets can check for this. And so if you think that's an issue, it's worth having your vet come out to see. He could palpate or I think do a blood test even to see if that's what's going on. For goats, I think we actually had a goat who was a freemartin and we never knew.
Really?
Yeah.
Lido?
Yeah.
No way.
I think so. She was very buckish and she was very hard to breed.
Interesting.
So.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Little Lido.
Yeah, who
Weird
knows?
Lido. She was a weird one.
Yeah.
And then I remembered in that video we made that joke, a freemartin isn't when you tell me I can do whatever I want this weekend. But I'm just Austin's Cheesery. This is a interesting question Deanna has. She says, we have a Jersey/Angus cross. She was a bottle fed. Is there anything we can do to increase the amount of cream she gives? She produces the equivalent of 1% milk after her cream is skimmed right now. It's gross, lols. We have another cow getting ready to go out of milk soon and want to transition to just her. We're currently milking both. So what can Deanna do?
Well, is the calf still on her? Are you calf sharing? If so, that will reduce the amount of cream you're getting because she'll hold it back for the calf. But it's interesting because you're saying after her cream is skimmed, it's 1% milk, which is what happens once you skim the cream. You're essentially making skim milk.
Skim milk, that's what they call it that.
Because you're not buying homogenized milk from the store. That whole milk is homogenized. Those little cream cells are all mixed in with the milk. So it's all, you can't skim that cream. But if you're drinking the raw milk and you skim the cream, you've made skim milk. So maybe don't skim your cream and just shake it in with the milk and then you won't have that skim milk.
That is what we do. We have found not skimming the cream helps in a few different ways. First, it keeps your milk lasting longer.
Yeah, that fat kind of prevents the bacteria from getting in there.
I don't know if it's that, or my thought also was you're not putting bacteria in when you put your dipper in there, you just keep pouring. But either way, we found it lasts longer when you don't skim it.
With the cream on top, yeah.
And somebody, I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody recently mentioned in a comment that your body's digestion is aided. The fat in the milk is supposed to be there all together. So keep it, don't skim it, unless you're like making butter or you just need cream.
Maybe you have enough milk and you say, I just want to keep the cream and feed the skim milk to the pigs.
Right, so.
There are...
Because that's all skim milk's good for, feeding the pigs.
Feeding pigs.
Not for humans to be drinking.
You could look
no.
in whatever you're feeding your cow, maybe there are ways, if someone suggests in your area things you could feed her that could possibly help her produce more cream. Most of the time though, the cream your cow gives is what you're going to get.
That's why you don't go with a Jersey Angus cross. You just go Jersey.
Not necessarily.
No?
Sometimes the beef breeds can have really nice cream from them.
Well, just go with a Jersey if you want good milk.
I'll kind of clarify what I said. Just so, if you have a Holstein cow, she will not produce as much cream as a Jersey cow, just because of the breeding. Now, if you have a Jersey cow and you want to increase her cream a little bit, consistency is really important in a cow's diet. Try to keep your feed consistent. No big changes, but you could try adding something like chaff hay or silage, and you may see an increase, because when the cows get on that spring grass, you'll see your cream's beautiful. Coming into winter though, you may notice that cream is decreasing. You can't make your Holstein a Jersey though. So in the long run, if what you're dealing with is a Holstein, maybe try breeding to a Jersey. Get yourself a little Hojo, more cream. Or you've got the Angus. Yeah, maybe go for a full Jersey or 3/4 Jersey if you like those beefy little carcasses.
Yum. Taylor, that's my sister's name. Taylor asks, what is the difference between a mini Jersey and a regular Jersey? I have Jerseys, and by the looks of Ladybug, she looks the same size of a regular Jersey.
Jerseys are one of the smaller cow breeds anyways. I read a story of somebody who had raised brown Swiss, and when their little boy saw Jerseys in the field, he said, look at all the baby cows. Because Jerseys compared to a brown Swiss are small, they're tiny. Miniature Jerseys are 42 inches and under, where a standard Jersey is 46 and up. So really, miniature Jersey is like 4 inches shorter.
Not that much.
Now, what they call Ladybug is mid-size miniature, which means she's...
in between 42 and 46?
Yeah, so she's almost the size of a standard Jersey. And she was bred to a mini Jersey bull. So Luna's going to be a mini, short. But Ladybug's pretty much just a small standard Jersey size.
Maria heard me talking about how we're going to be drying Ladybug off, and then
And the cows won't, the goats won't be in
being
milk yet.
bred, we would have no milk. She says, what about freezing some milk ahead? So can you freeze milk and then thaw it and enjoy that milk?
Yeah, you can. Some people will skim the cream. Other people say leave the cream on, and just after your milk thaws, while it's thawing, shake it up real good to mix it all in, and they say it tastes just as good, almost just as good as when you get it out fresh. Other people have even suggested making your own powdered milk, which is a cool idea for those who don't want to rely on a freezer.
Now, the reason this isn't a great solution for us, Maria, is because we go through all our milk, no problem. So it would take us...
Well, that's because Luna has been on, but...
True, if we would wean Luna, and then we could maybe freeze some. But I feel like a goldfish in a bowl of milk, we will go through as much milk as we have. And we'll be a dead goldfish. We already answered that question. So we're gonna go on to this question. Pam's Place Backyard Homestead. Have you ever had your cow's milk tested? I have a mid-sized Jersey and I'm thinking about getting her milk tested. And that question, actually, Karen asked her to clarify.
Like testing for what?
Testing for what?
Yeah.
And
Did Pam clarify?
yeah, hold on. I gotta find what Pam clarified her question, because Karen L. Tell the audience about Karen L. Karen L's great.
Karen is our resident cow expert. So if you ask a question on the cows and the questions, hopefully Karen's there and she'll give you a good answer right away. Because it takes us a little bit sometimes to respond to the questions.
And Karen
knows her stuff.
Yeah, Pam's place back there at Homestead. So from time to time, people get annoyed when our
other viewers
answer. T-Roo is often answers and lets people know if we've answered it somewhere else. We actually really like that.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
It's, homesteading's about the community. And I'm always impressed by that when we need a buck, when we need some animals moved or finding some animals. Homesteading's such a community, and if you really build up that community around you, you'll see there are great people who are always willing to help. So.
And Karen is one of those. She's always there, and she's very knowledgeable, and she's always willing to help. So if you see Karen answering your question, then
give her a big thumbs up.
Say thanks, Karen. She's like, I wish we could give people like Homesteady official moderator badges.
Yeah.
Like Karen is an official Homesteady moderator.
She's approved.
So Karen asked, what are you referring to? The A2A test or something else? And Pam said, I was thinking of the coliform count and standard plate count.
So Pam's thinking about like bacteria, the SCC, to see what you're dealing with as far as like a somatic cell count. I haven't, actually. And if we were dealing with some sort of an issue, like if I noticed my milk was getting kind of clumpy or not filtering well, then I would. And someday I do hope to, just to see like where our standards are as far as like how we're doing with chilling the milk, with handling it. Someday we will, but I haven't this year.
I would like to, just for science, I'd like to see the facts there, because I want to do a series about raw milk, and I'd like to see if our thoughts are actually proving out in science, or if it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, so if you do, let me know how it goes.
And eventually we will look into that.
Yeah, we
Pam's
will.
place. Thomas asks, what equipment do you use with milking? So we obviously show milking all the time, but just
Akers.
a quick, kind of a quick overview. What do you use milking?
I specifically kept my equipment. I tried to use as much as we had for the goats already, because the cow was such a big investment. I really wanted to take a year or two to milk to find out if we could handle it as a family, if it was something I liked and wanted to keep doing. So that's why we didn't invest in a milk machine right away. So all I have is a stainless steel bucket and a lid to go on top of that. I have a stainless steel strainer that fits over the mouth of a wide mouth mason jar. And I buy filters to go in that strainer. They're not expensive at all. I also have a cream that I use for when I'm milking to kind of
like a salve.
Yeah, to lubricate her teats as I'm milking, because I wear gloves.
So gloves?
And some cheesecloth that I drape over the bucket and secure with a rubber band to strain any hay or pieces of dirt that may fall into it while I'm milking.
You have your dip.
And I have a teat dip container that I use, a teat dip for to clean her teats before I milk, and just some washcloths from Walmart that I use, one to clean off her teats after I dip them in the iodine solution. And then I think that's it.
One thing we did have at Squash Hollow that we don't have set up here, but was really nice, we have a mini fridge with a glass
milk
door.
Fridge.
That was our milk fridge.
Yeah, we were getting so much milk at the beginning with milking her twice a day before Luna could keep up that our fridge was full.
Yeah.
So we got the milk fridge. That was a gift from my parents.
And it helped prevent milk from spoiling, because if you imagine your milk in your refrigerator, every day people are opening the refrigerator for
think of how
other
often the
things,
kids will open the fridge
and leave it open and stare, and you have this raw milk in there that you don't want to go bad. So the milk fridge meant it was all closed. It didn't get opened but twice a day, when the new milk came in, and then when a milk was being taken out to go into our regular fridge. So that was a nice extra piece of equipment that we don't have set up here, but once we get back into the bigger house, I think we'll have that set up, because that was nice. We like the milk fridge. We're kind of already touching on this, but Nathan wanted to know, when you milk through the cloth, what type of filter do you use, and how do we store the raw milk?
He says, why you milk through the cloth?
Oh, why you milk through the cloth?
Just to stop any debris from falling in. If she's got a piece of hay on her side, it stops it from falling in. Yeah, it's just another level of protection.
When you think about raw milk coming out of the cow, for a long time it was said that milk came out sterile. Now that's not really scientifically accurate now. scientists are looking at a whole new world with the microbiome that is inside of the animal living. And so milk is not sterile in that it is this like dead liquid where there's nothing.
It's alive.
It's alive. But what people said when they said milk was sterile coming out is that, for example, something like E. coli or some of those other things that cause mastitis, just the staph, yeah, there's bad bacteriums. They are not on the inside of the udder. They're introduced through the outside. Or at least they're not inside the milk inside. The milk is sterile in the sense that it doesn't have that bad stuff until it enters the real world. And so if you want your raw milk to not make your family sick, the idea is if it starts off really good and without any bacteria, the less you add into it earlier on, the less you have to worry about. The way bacteria is tested is in counts per part. So they take a part of the milk and they say, how much of this bacteria is in that single part of milk? And a low count is something that's allowed. So there can be just a few little microbiome-sized, really sciencey talk here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just a couple little bacterium swimming around that parts per whatever. I don't know what the number is that they test, but in those parts, it's such a small figure, it's not something you have to worry about. And what will help that is all the steps Kay does in her whole process, the cheesecloth, the gloves, just every step along the way.
Making sure you dry your milking equipment off and not just letting it air dry.
That's
is
great.
a good way to do it.
The less that you introduce into that raw milk early on, the less that then will multiply. And if you keep it well refrigerated, it won't. And at that point, your raw milk is nothing to worry about. It's where you get sloppy and you let all that bacteria in, and then you don't worry or pay attention to how often
cooling
it's being cooled or how long it stays out of the fridge in the morning. That's where you get into the danger zone. And
as far as the danger zone goes, if your cow is healthy and you'll see how she's acting, her udder feels good, there's no hot spots, you can leave your milk sit out on the counter for a few days and it clabbers. People will eat that because it's not bad for you. It's like when you make yogurt. So healthy cow, keep as much debris as you can from getting in your milk, chill it quickly. So that's why I milk through that cloth. As far as a filter, I just use a round, it's a milk filter. And we can put a link below if you want, because they're not very expensive. They last a long time.
I have a link that goes to all our gear, and there's a section milking supplies.
Yeah. And then as far as storage, when we have a bigger place, we have the milk fridge we use. As far as right now, if I'm getting a gallon a day, I come in, I put it in my ball jars. They're half-gallon, wide mouth jar.
Why do we do half-gallon? That's a good...
It cools faster than a gallon jar. And I stick it in the freezer up top above the fridge. I give it about 2 hours just to chill really fast. Shake it once in a while to get it all mixed up. Once it's chilled, I'll stick it in the bottom way in the back of the fridge. And that way it keeps for a week in the fridge.
Another reason the half gallons are nice, again, we have little children and they serve themselves cereal and they take the milk out and they pour the cereal and they put the milk on the counter. And if you have a whole gallon there, there's a significant amount of that milk that every day has sat on your counter for longer than you really wanted it to. And if it's only half gallon, we burn up a half gallon every day. It's gone. There's no worry. We get back into that, how long is the milk warming? Is there bacteria in there that's multiplying? Half gallon just keeps things cooler and cleaner. I just get excited when I actually can add to the situation. I sit here most of this one like, she's talking.
He remembers all that stuff better than I do anyways.
Where am I going to hunt this afternoon? Next question. Journey Through Love. Journey Through Love asks lots of questions. She says, Kay or he, I don't know. Oh man, no.
This person.
Can you talk about, if applicable, you made yourself the boss cow? I've had my cow for 4.5 weeks and they have gradually taken me off my throne. I'm trying to recover, but it never seemed like you had an issue from the beginning. Granted, my girl is 3 years old, first calf, not handled much, and came from a private residence instead of a breeder, so there are some big differences, for sure. She will wear a halter, but doesn't like being tied. She will let you pet her and brush her while she's eating, but when she is done, She takes off down the pasture and stays there. I need serious cow help, but at the risk of this becoming even longer, I'll stop there.
Karen gave a good answer once again. Karen had good tips about whether if the cow is afraid of you is a different thing than if she's trying to be the boss of you. Now, when we first got Ladybug, and it does help if your cow came from an actual herd because they learn cow manners. Now, if your cow didn't, so your cow maybe came from a residence, right? Was she the only calf? Was she your little Luna? So a little spoiled, kind of got away with stuff.
And she was 3 and not bred, right?
No, she had a calf already. It's her first calf.
But at 3 years old?
She just had her first calf.
Okay, sorry I interrupted.
Not handled much. And she'll let you brush her when she's eating, and then she's gone. Is she tossing her head at you? Right? Is she like using her body? Does she get in your space? Does she kind of try to push you around? That's when you know she's trying to be the boss cow. And that's when you have to just, even if you're a little intimidated by her, which I was at first, of course, because they're huge. You kind of have to just get into the mentality. If it helps, take a big stick in there with you just to feel like I'm the boss. And you posture yourself, you know, you carry yourself like no one's going to push me around. If she gets in your space, bop the end of her nose, back her up, use your voice, say, whoa, back. And I'll do it with Ladybug sometimes because she can get a little fresh. And you see her and she's like, you know, she kind of backs away and then she'll like be sorry. For Austin, it was his first time being around large livestock ever. He was intimidated by Ladybug and she knew.
I've been accused on this channel of being a beta. I get time to time people. I did a video about how Kay's better at shooting than me, and people are like, beta male.
Poor beta.
With the cows, I was not the boss cow. I was intimidated by Ladybug, and she knew it.
So every time he would reach in to pet her, she would throw her head at him.
And she'd, yeah, like headbutt.
So that's cows. That's showing like, hey, I'm dominant.
And I had a hard time adjusting to this because at first I was very like, okay, all right, oh. And then she would say, no, you got to be the boss. And then I'd be like, okay, get back. And then she's like, whoa, don't scare her.
So you keep her in her spot. Like you have a bubble. This is cows. They have their bubbles.
I told her that when we first were dating. I said, hey, I have a bubble.
You see where that got us. So have your bubble. She's not allowed in your bubble unless you let her. Now, she seems like she doesn't want to be near you. In that case, if you'd like her to get friendlier, put her in a smaller area so she can't run away from you. And then go up to her in your terms. You know, take your little treats in your hand so she associates you with food, with good stuff. She wants to come close to you. And if she likes, find that special spot, she likes scratched her chin or right by her tail. Be the boss. It's kind of hard whether she wants to be the boss or whether she's just afraid of you. But either way, spend some time with her. It sounds like you are. And she'll come around.
I wonder, how do you do that when you are scared? I had the advantage of you being there, and then I could get more confident. If you're the only one there, how do you overcome that fear and just do it? How did you do it?
You just have to.
Just have to
Just
man
tell
up
yourself,
and-
yeah, if this is going to be successful, if I'm going to be, you know, feel comfortable around my cow and we want to make this work long term, you just have to be the
Do
boss.
like a pep talk in the mirror before you go out to the barn.
Yeah, and do things that make you feel confident. So take the stick with you.
That's a good tip.
And don't hit them on the head. Never hit a cow on the head because, first of all, their head is so much harder than anything you can do to it. And they're going to take that right away. That's like the go switch for them. And they're going to say, so they're different than horses.
So the nose.
Cows you don't pet up here, cows pet down here. Because up here is that go button for them. And if you want to discipline them, if they're in your spot, don't hit there on their head. Hit the soft spot of their nose right there. It's not going to hurt them that bad. Imagine, as a calf, their mom's kicking them off. So cows, you cannot hurt a cow as much as a cow is going to be able to hurt you. So don't be afraid to give that bop on the nose.
Yeah, great advice. And it worked for me because now Ladybug totally respects me and I have much more confidence. I remember filming Ladybug the first few days that she was on Squash Hollow Farm, and I was like, I would have the electric fence in between me and I was like, okay. And now I can just go into the pasture. I don't worry about her. I can get right up close with her. They still don't like me like they like you, but they respect me, and I don't have any more headbutting issues. So you can push through that and become the boss.
Another thing
even if you're just a beta.
Another thing is I don't let the kids in with the cows.
Good tip.
Yeah, Luna's okay. I don't mind her, but Ladybug wasn't used to kids. She saw them as a threat, and she would kind of go towards them. So I had to work with her a lot as far as that. I'd take one with me beside me, and if she would do that, I'd yell at her, smack her nose. But it's still something. I never let the kids in with her alone.
Yeah, and it's just an unfair weight class advantage.
Yeah.
So you just don't do that.
Yeah, cows just like, there have been people killed by cows just because one cow like pushes into the other one's side and they get pinned up against the barn. They're so big and they're
not even being
and they're not being
mean.
aggressive.
They're
just
huge animal, and you got to be smart about that.
And you always have to be aware around your cows.
Yeah, escape plan.
People even say if we're making a video and like one of them's in heat, they'll watch me and say, "Don't turn your back," and it looks by the angle like I have my back towards them. Most of the time it's my side. And I'm always keeping an eye on them where they are.
Yeah, and even when I'm filming, same thing. I might be crouched down, I might be in a vulnerable position, but you're aware and you're ready. You're on the balls of your feet.
Yeah. Yeah, you always see where they are. If they're running down behind me, I'm always watching. Super fan, T-Roo. We got 2 supers.
That's the first official super. T-Roo, I mean, there's T-Roo every day, man, watching.
I always wonder, like, what pronoun to use with T-Roo. Is it he or she?
T-Roo.
Or do you care?
T-Roo. Oh, man, this is bad.
What?
T-Roo is he.
Yeah?
Oh,
Possibly.
Man.
But we don't know.
How bad is this? This is the internet business. I know T-Roo, like, I know physical ailments that affect T-Roo. I know, like, what... T-Roo does not like background noise. I know so much about T-Roo, but I don't know his... All right, well, what pronoun, T-Roo? We're getting to know you even better, video by video. Anyways, T-Roo...
What do you guys do for milk when you're not milking? Do you have tons of milk in the freezer? Do you get milk from another farm? Or just buy it regular milk from the store? If you do buy it from the store, is there any digestive discomfort in your family when you switch back and forth from raw to pasteurized?
Funny, when we first got raw milk, the very first time we got it because it was all the rage in the homesteading world and we had to try it and we drank it and we were like...
We were just married, so this was
years,
almost 10 years ago.
We weren't even on Squash Hollow
We
Farm.
had no kids.
Yeah, and we were like, $8 a gallon?
$8 a gallon and it...
No big deal.
Yeah.
we didn't get it again. It was like, nah, well, let's still pay $4 a gallon. And here we are now with a dairy cow.
I know.
Funny. But it happens, T-Roo. There are days where...
Like if we're getting ready to go on vacation and I want to make sure Luna's keeping up with Ladybug's production, I stopped milking the week before to make sure she could keep up. And when we were gone for 10 days, that Ladybug wouldn't end up uncomfortable or dealing with mastitis. When we first moved down and we weren't milking, we would go to a local dairy farm and get the raw milk from there. The week we were going to vacation, we just went to the store and bought a gallon of regular old milk.
And when we're buying milk at the supermarket, it's not what we're doing. If we didn't have a dairy cow, we would find a raw milk dairy that we trusted near here and go with that because that's what we're supporting. When we run out of milk one week, it's not like we're supporting somebody's lifestyle. It's just, we need milk quick.
I don't mind supporting dairy farmers.
No.
Whether they're small scale, whether they're large scale. I think it's a good thing. I think milk is good. We like drinking milk, and if I have to buy it from the store once in a while, I think that's okay.
We do. When we buy it from the store, we get organic.
That's another discussion. He buys organic. I don't.
You don't? Oh, look at that. We're very much, when it comes to stuff with food, we were raised in the 90s, as children in the 90s, which means as GMOs were quietly entering the world through Goldfish and McDonald's, we were gobbling it up for afternoon snack after school and hot lunches, and we didn't know any better. And look, we made it to like 20 years old and now 30 years old, and yeah, I mean, we're not perfect all the way through, but like we're okay, so I don't worry.
We try to be balanced,
yeah,
and not to just not to make it be the main part of our life. is to be thinking about
everything you put into your mouth
Yeah.
every day.
It kind of became an issue when we were first doing this because it can be very overwhelming. And I didn't want to become a person who was obsessed with the food we were eating. So now that we grow our own meat, we have our own cow, our own eggs. If occasionally we buy milk from the store, I'm okay with that. We never have any digestive issues either way. So it's not something I worry about too much with our family.
And I feel we kind of go by that 80-20 rule. By providing ourselves 80% of the meat, when we're on a road trip, we stop at a Chick-fil-A and eat a Chick-fil-A. It's not going to do me any damage. It's one Chick-fil-A. So, yeah.
I really want my kids to have a healthy attitude towards this sort of thing, where they appreciate where their food comes from, but it doesn't become this unbalanced obsession where, you know, they have a panic attack if what we're eating isn't organic or home raised. I really want them to be balanced people, and yeah, we'll all see how it goes.
Chelsea wants to know, we've been talking so much about weaning Luna, weaning Luna, weaning Luna. What's the big deal? Other than the obvious that most folks dry off their cow before she gives birth again, won't a calf regulate itself on milk versus grass like human babies do? We hope to have a family cow in the next year-ish, eager to learn all I can in the meantime.
Well, so we're talking about a dairy cow here, right? Beef cows some will naturally wean their calves, so you don't have to worry about it. Dairy cows have been bred to produce, and for a long term. A lot of dairy cows have been selected to even accept calves that aren't their own. So they become, they're milkers, right? They're gonna let their calves nurse as long as that calf wants to. It's been bred out of some cows to naturally wean their calves. Now, if you talk about some of the heritage breeds, you'll hear this. Some people even have problems with their Dexters or say their Devons. Well, they're great cows, but once their calf is weaned, the cow dries himself off because it hasn't been bred out of that breed. But if you're talking about a Holstein or a Jersey, you'll find that they do not at this point, they're not going to naturally wean their calf. So for us, because Ladybug's not bred yet, I am not going to dry her off yet. So we have to wean Luna because she's almost a year old.
I'm chubby.
She's fine. She's coming into winter. She'll lose the chub. But
Me too.
But she does need to be weaned.
Actually, it works the opposite for me.
She is, what I noticed with her is, as compared to when she was like 2 months old, she is nursing a lot less. So she is regulating herself. She's eating a lot more grass and a lot more hay than she did when she was a newborn calf. But what are the odds that she'll actually wean herself completely? From what I'm seeing, slim to none. And a lot of people, this isn't a specific question from anybody, but are saying like she'll become one of those cows that suckles on other cows like forever. And I don't think that's guaranteed to happen. It happens with some calves that have never seen a teat at all, that have been raised on a bottle. They will suckle a cow in the pasture. I think it's going to be hit and miss, and there are some other family cow owners who may want to weigh in on this too. So, weaning, the big debate.
We've talked in some of our recent Q&As about the question of butchering our family milk cows. Not that we have plans to or anything, just the hypothetical. People had a lot of questions.
Yeah, if it comes down to it.
And it keeps getting more and more questions because it's one of those things where, oh wow, yeah, what if you had to butcher your family milk cow? What would you do? And it creates lots of what if scenarios. And this one, the possible slaughter of your dairy cow, could you look in to see if there was a mobile butcher in your area? That way the animal could be harvested at home. This is You Betcha talking. Save the stress of shipping it to the butcher. A non-productive dairy cow is going to go for meat, which means being shipped in a truck full of other cattle sent through the commercial slaughterhouse, a terrifying ordeal for the cow. If you sell your dairy cow, realize you are sending away meat that you know what it is in it, and will need to replace that meat with a source that you don't know the background of. So in last week's Q&A, I talked about someone had asked, well, couldn't you just sell your cow for meat for someone else so you don't have to be sad every day eating your own? And I joked that you were going to salt the meat with your own tears every night.
If there were a mobile butcher around, and this isn't something we've researched, I would definitely use it.
For a cow?
A cow, yeah, for sure. For pigs or anything. You don't feel bad for the pigs?
We didn't do it for the pigs.
There wasn't one around us.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about this, because back in Connecticut, there was 2 processors in the area who would handle local farms' meat. The best butcher had a holding area where you would bring your animals and they would stay there overnight. They had water, they had feed. It was a different surrounding, but
the pigs never minded.
No,
as long as there was water and food, they were happy.
For 8 years or 7 years, I brought pigs to that guy. I dumped them off. Pigs are startled easily by things and are very curious in nature, but once they get a good look around, they settle right in. So I would leave the pigs. Loading them was tough because they don't want to go in a trailer. It's weird. Unloading is tough because they don't want to go where you want them to go. They don't want to
get off the trailer because it's weird.
And right there is a perfect example. They didn't want on the trailer in the first place, but now 10 minutes later we're at the butcher right down the road from us and they don't want to get off suddenly. Suddenly they love the trailer. So it's just more of a thing where they were kind of worried. That was the better butcher. He was an awesome butcher. He did a fantastic job with the product. The other butcher in the area didn't have killing on their property. They were only a processor. They didn't do...
So you had to bring them already killed.
Yeah, you had to bring an already killed animal. So I knew farmers who would kill their animals out in the field, like you talked about here, and then bring them to that guy. Both of these butchers, they had complete opposite. Butcher A, who we used, Tarzia Meat Packing, they were amazing. They would not take a dead animal. You needed to bring it to them live. We chose the better butcher, despite the fact that we couldn't kill the animals in the field and then bring it to him, because I prefer to have the best possible butcher handling my meat, what my family's going to eat. And I trusted this guy. He did a great job. I really liked working with him. A good butcher for small scale ag can be a challenge to find and book and get. And once we had him, I wasn't going to change that. So I didn't value that over it for the pigs. Whether it would be a different story for the cow.
Well, we're in a new location now. Would we have taken a cow to him? It was a short drive. A ladybug loaded so easily, and she unloaded so easily. I feel like if there was a holding pen for her there, and she had some delicious food, gave her a bale of chaff hay to munch on, and then she's butchered quickly.
He's going to do a good job.
Of course.
It's a hard decision.
Of course, it's
every
a hard
time
decision.
we talk about this.
Now, sure, I would love for someone, if we needed to, say she broke her leg, right, and we had to euthanize her, and we say, well, we might as well use her meat because that would be a shame not to. It'd be great to have somebody who's able to come here as opposed to like trying to load a cow with a broken leg.
And there is the question of if you have a cow butchered, you shoot your cow in the field, that's a heavy animal. We do have some heavy machinery here, so we are fortunate for that. But you would need to dress it quickly, cool it down. There's a lot to this question.
And we've never had to make this decision with a cow yet. So
yeah. I do think ultimately we like the idea better of if it's a family dairy cow, letting her be out in that pasture and that's where it ends. Yeah. There's a nice thought there. But I did want to chime in to You Betcha's comment and say, while maybe your idea of a commercial slaughterhouse seems frightening, and there are certain ones that maybe you're thinking of or you've seen, the one that we dealt with back in Connecticut, I have seen cows there. Days that I dropped pigs off, there'd be cows there. And the cows didn't look scared or overly stressed. They just were there eating food and relaxed. It was a quiet place. These people had raised livestock. They knew how to handle livestock. Yeah. They were always kind. I remember.
That's what you're looking for. If someone can be there with your cow.
Yeah. I remember.
Talk to her.
Every time I unloaded pigs, it's a little bit of a hassle to get the pigs off, and you got to push them and move them and do stuff. But afterward, Jay would walk over and he'd pet the pig, and he'd say, nice, beautiful pigs. He'd pet them, and you just saw he knew how to handle an animal in its last hours. And so there's value to that too. So I wouldn't write off taking them to a butcher if you could find the right one.
As always, long answer.
Tony, I was thinking about the fact that a woman can take a pill to bring her into milk to be able to breastfeed an adopted baby. or to be a wet nurse. Is it possible to do the same with a cow? So could you get your cow to milk without having had a calf, which we already talked a little bit about. Is there a pill that can kind of jumpstart you?
I've read about them trying to do this. I don't think it's something that can be reliably done or that is like FDA approved to do. Now, there are occasions where a cow can give birth prematurely where her milk doesn't come in right away. Where some people will suggest giving some herbs to kind of help bring in that milk, or, attempt to try milking her a few times a day to see if you can bring that milk in. But those hormones still have to be in place to get that milk started. I'm sure they're working on developing something for it though, so we'll see, I guess.
Did you know that it is possible for men to lactate?
Yes, I did know that.
So when we come to questions like this, like maybe there's something crazy out there that happened one time. I was thinking about our goat that didn't have...
Right, now there have been heifers who aren't pregnant but maybe are eating a specific thing in the field that's bringing them into milk. That could happen. There are heifers that you'll see another cow nursing on them that could kind of start bringing them into milk, but it's not something you want to have happen.
Like what you mentioned, reliably. If you just want to be able to rely on that milk, this is yet to find a good answer for that.
Yeah, just breed your cow.
Brenda wants to know...
And she wants this for the lightning round, but we don't have a lightning round this week.
We didn't do a lightning round this week.
So you'll just get it answered regularly.
But we can do it quickly. Will Luna be ladybug size when she's mature?
No, because Ladybug was bred to a mini bull. So Ladybug, they call her mid-size miniature. So a small, regular, standard-sized Jersey. She was bred to a mini. So Luna's going to be a miniature Jersey, smaller than Ladybug.
We'll see what size she is at her final height. Beyond the border, right on the line there. Brenda had another question. She wanted to know, what do you sew? I think it's really handy to have a seamstress on the homestead. So do I. I have a button missing, or two on this shirt. I got 3 buttons missing. I got this on our honeymoon.
10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. Yeah, we got married in November, 10 years ago.
Old Navy.
And it's got holes.
It was before we were farming.
That's a half button. It is handy to have a seamstress. She does a lot of utility problem solving, sewing, and mending, but sometimes get a chance to sew more traditional projects like quilt squares, baby diapers, clothing. I'll bet the children like to use the sewing machine. My kids and grandkids do. So Brenda?
Well, my mom taught me to sew when I was a teenager. Mostly straight lines, so I would make a lot of skirts. And I hadn't done it since, until our friends were visiting from Suriname, and we took our kids to Michael's because my daughters really love crafting. My daughter saw a little sewing machine there. I was like, why not? Let's start her sewing. We bought the little sewing machine and it was a piece of junk. So I took it back to the store and instead I got my mom's real sewing machine and we brought it to the house. Some fabric my sister had she gave to us, a couple of books. And my daughter sewed her first skirt and pillow. She loved it. So that's something I think we'll be doing more of with the kids. And yes, they loved using the sewing machine. It was cool being able to make a little skirt for her in an hour.
Could really use a button fixed here. The last question for Ask the Cowgirl today. Niji Ranch?
Niji Ranch?
Niji Ranch?
Maybe it's like Nigerian.
Okay. My husband is looking to enlist in the Army, so sadly our homesteading is being put on hold for a few years. But we should be in a better place financially. What I'm wondering about, do you have suggestions for moving with babies and/or toddlers? I currently have a daughter who will be 1 in December, and who knows if we have another kid by the time he'd get his station orders. So we have not moved. Yes, we have moved. Well, what's a baby technically?
Well, she'll be 1 in December.
Well, that's
so
what
she's
our
still
son
a baby.
was when we moved the first time.
No. Oh, our oldest.
Our oldest was 1 when we moved the first time.
We were renovating the house we were moving into.
Man.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Do you have family around you right now? Hopefully they're able to help you. Because with the little one like that, she's probably not, she's not old enough. Or he. I don't know.
I think it's a girl.
I think it's a girl.
Yep.
A daughter. So she won't want to watch TV. The older ones you can kind of keep with their projects. Do this little thing, watch this TV.
Oh, they can even help you.
Yes. With the little one.
Our older ones, with this move, they helped.
They helped. With the little one, it's kind of just about keeping them out of trouble. so you can get some work done. It's a hard one.
That moving truck ramp. Oh man, I had so many, like our little toddler going up and down that ramp. Whoa, 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 don't let him play up there. Oh man.
So keep that pack and play nearby with lots of toys. Maybe keep some special toys on hand for when you want to get stuff done. Work a lot during her nap times.
Nap times using up, like just have some babysitting, because you can't pack a working truck and watch your kid. It just doesn't work. So
hopefully you have lots of help.
Yep. And then where you're going.
Yeah, unpacking and everything.
Unpacking. It's hard.
You're going to be really stressed, but you can do it. And you look back on it and say, oh, I'm so glad that's done.
Oh man. Too soon.
Then we have to move again in like 6 months.
We feel your pain. We have to move into this house, which it's only like
a shorter move,
from there to here, but still it's feeling like a little overwhelming thinking of, oh boys, we're gonna have to be moving. But it'll be worth it to be in the new house. So. And
go easy on yourself. So don't feel like you gotta cook 3 meals a day. This is what I say with moving. Like if you've got the baby,
put it in the budget.
Make other areas of your life easier, right? So buy lots of frozen pizzas.
Yep.
Lots of easy meals that you can make. So you're not spending your time cooking. So when she's napping, you can be focused all on the packing.
That's a great point. We put it in the budget for the move to get food out. If friends and family want to help, let them know food's welcome. Whatever areas you can get.
And we've never used a packing and moving company. But if we were to do a long distance move again with babies that little, I would probably say try to find a good packing and moving company. So all you have to do is put everything in the box, label it, they'll load it on the truck, drive it there, and unload it for you.
Yeah, there is something real nice about that idea. Someday. No, because I'm never moving again.
That's right, never.
Someday I'm just going to hire them to move stuff around and watch it.
You're going to be like my parents.
Move that box for me.
That's right.
There you go. Get yourself something nice.
I'm not even moving anywhere. I just wanted you to move it.
With that creepy ending, we're going to shut this one down. If you want a question answered specifically by Kay, hashtag #AskTheCowgirl. And you can throw a hashtag #AskHomesteady in there too. If you put a hashtag #AskTheCowgirl, I will save it specifically for her. If you have a question about cows, things women.
You're not going to answer those?
I don't answer questions about women. I'm still working on figuring it out myself. Come on. I don't pretend to be an authority about women. Some other things maybe, but certainly not women. We just throw those hashtags in there, we'll get your question. If you enjoy what we do here every week, these videos, these Q&As, you can support our channel in 2 ways, and they're a huge help. If you're gonna shop on Amazon, just type in www.amsteady.com in the URL, forwards you over to Amazon instantly. We get a bonus for sending you there. Huge help, doesn't cost you a penny extra. And for you super fans out there who really like the show, can't miss one every day, you wake up, first thing you do is pull up Homesteady. Consider becoming a Homesteady Pioneer. $5 a month, comes out to about $0.25 per episode. And with that $0.25 per episode, it helps us do this. We couldn't do it without the Pioneers' help, and we thank you so much if you are one, or if you support us in any way, like watching this entire Q&A. That's a support too. And good on you if you made it this far. That's a lot of, well, today it's her voice, so that's easy. The weeks it's just me, that's,
So now we gotta now we have to take Poppy to the vet.
Poppy to the vet. Just for shots and maintenance. Nothing wrong. She's doing great. Poppy's a good little pup. We'll see you next week. Next week's videos. All right, let's get that puppy to the vet.